Hi, I'm Erik Linask here at IT Expo. I'm here on the the exhibit hall floor with Jeff Rodman, who is the co-founder and CTO of Polycom. Jeff, welcome. Thanks for joining me.
Thanks very much, Erik. Glad to be here.
First of all, a great keynote yesterday. Hopefully everybody had a chance to join us for that.
I'm glad you enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun to put together.
We had a packed house up there. It was fantastic to see so many people interested.
They kept dragging chairs in.
So it's a great thing. We're here. One of the things we want to talk about is HD voice. There's a lot of activity going around it. We've got an entire track here at IT Expo focusing on HD voice. There's a series of sessions out at CES earlier this month. So much activity and focus around it. Why?
Well, it's been happening for several years. Basically, the thing is that the human voice has a lot more fidelity, a lot more bandwidth. It covers a lot more space, sound space, than the normal telephone can handle. If we talk about kilohertz is how you measure bandwidth or fidelity, the phone is designed to cover about 3 kilohertz. The human voice covers about 14. And where that's a problem is that a lot of the information when we talk is in these higher frequencies that are cut out by the telephone. So the difference between an S and an F, for example, or a T and a P, is entirely in the higher frequencies. So if somebody's sailing, if I were to say my nephew is sailing in college, or is he failing in college, entirely different meaning. But unless you have a context to that, you may not know what the message is. This is really important in business when often you don't have a chance to get a second, could you say that again? Did you say that you were losing $15 million or $50 million, those sort of things. So having the additional sound quality, the full fidelity that your ear expects makes a really big difference.
And I think anybody, certainly you and I and anybody else who has experienced an HD conversation, knows exactly what you're talking about. Yeah. But does the general audience, do all of our attendees understand it?
I think increasingly they're coming to. We've got some pretty good demonstrations. Certainly anybody who's heard the difference between a standard phone and HD immediately gets it. It's kind of like HD video in that respect. Until you actually saw a football game on an HD set, you said, okay, so you see it and say, oh my gosh, I get it. What's happening as the phone network is moving from the PSTN, the circuit switch that we all have in our houses, to IP telephony, voice over IP, and even AT&T is going this way. What happens is suddenly the network itself is capable of doing this, so we don't have to copy everything about the old telephone, including its poor performance. So what we're seeing even here at the show is virtually every major manufacturer of telephones is making HD capable phones.
But in order to really see widespread adoption, we're going to need to see some real interoperability efforts on the part of service providers, aren't we?
Right. The service providers are the last piece. So what you have are telephones, endpoints of all sorts really, that are HD capable and are interoperable. So all of the competitors can directly hook together. Their phones will work. The missing piece is that the network needs to be able to connect one end to the other. And this isn't even HD specific. What's needed is the networks are working on having IP connectivity from end to end across networks. Once you have IP connectivity of any sort, especially SIP IP connectivity, you immediately have HD, narrowband, video, anything you want. So once you've got the network connectivity, the network is transparent.
Who's really going to drive that ultimate connectivity between HD connectivity? Is that going to come from the end users demanding it from their providers? Is it going to come from the handset vendors?
It's coming in both directions. What's happening on the industry side Just as Polycom has been a leader in developing and putting out HD voice, Polycom is also in the front of the group that's working on network connectivity. Very recently, excuse me, most recently, XConnect has announced their support for a peering development, for which really the major endpoint manufacturers and a number of the networks are participating. So we're getting together as an industry to establish this widespread connectivity, and as we see that happening, I think you're going to see the whole picture just blossoming.
Good. Is all HD voice the same? Or is Polycom, for instance, doing something a little differently from some of the other folks out there?
That's a real good question. For real HD voice in a system, you want a couple of things. You want to have first what's called the codec. That's the thing that turns voice into bits. All the codecs have to be compatible. There's one called G.722, a little technical, I'm sorry, but it's the one that everybody's using as a baseline. Beyond that, so that gives you a basic HD voice connection. Beyond that, what you want is to have whatever your endpoint is, a phone, a speakerphone, cell phone, designed to give you the best sound quality. If it's a speakerphone, you want the best give and take, which is, and this is an area where Polycom, is known for, has always excelled. So just as when you buy a hi-fi system, you may find 3 hi-fi systems that can all play the same compact disc, but some of them will sound pretty muddy, and some of them will sound like, my gosh, I feel like I'm in the concert hall. You'll see the same differences among phones and among speakerphones. So that's one of the things to listen to as we move into this HD age.
Excellent. Can't wait till we actually see everybody using HD. Then we're not going to have to spell out our email addresses anymore.
That's it, exactly, yeah.
Been talking here on the IT Expo show floor with Polycom's CTO, Jeff Rodman. Jeff, thank you very much for joining me.
Erik, it's been a pleasure. Thanks.
Thanks.